Hi everyone, so this video is going to go through the UCAS process from a parent's point of view, trying to give you as much information as I possibly can. There's a fantastic guide on UCAS, the parents advice guide. I would definitely recommend looking at that because some of the information from here has come from it, but strap in and here we go. To give you an idea of what it would be like under normal circumstances, I've left this slide in here. Now, we'd begin the sort of support process for UCAS about now. Normally, we'd be advising students to go to open days. There's a day of timetable. We'd get informer students. We'd support with personal statements. We'd encourage students to begin drafting their personal statements over the summer. When we get back in September, we then start working with the students who are thinking of Oxford, Cambridge, dentistry, medicine or veterinary. They have to get their applications off by October the 15th. Then over the next few months, students will put their applications in. Some of them will start to hear. The actual deadline is January the 15th for everyone. So UCAS deadline is January the 15th every year. They'll hear back. They have to make their firm and insurance choices by May, results day in August, and then they would go off to university in September and October. That's what would happen in any normal year. However, without stating the absolute obvious, this is not a normal year. We haven't heard any information either from UCAS or from individual universities what this process is going to look like in light of COVID-19, whether deadlines are going to be moved, what it means. As soon as we know, we'll let you know. So let's just progress through this without fully knowing if there's going to be changes to the timetable. I'll still give you the information that you need. I probably should have started this by explaining what UCAS stands for, which is the University and College Admissions Service, and all university applications go through this. It's a web portal, everyone does the same. So the application is the same for everyone. It will have information where they put in their details, the exams they're doing, the universities they want to apply to, the personal statement that they write, and a reference that we write as a school. Most students will apply to 5 universities, and that is a cost to you, to the student, of £25. You can choose to apply for one for £20. That generally is for students who've already got their results and know exactly where they want to go. So it's a cost of £25 to send off the application. So the personal details section is very, very obvious. They need contact details. They need to be able to, get hold of you. This is going to seem a bit indulgent for me to put this on here, but I just want to get this out, these bits, because these are the main reasons that I send UCAS applications back. So every student needs to put on their ULN, their unique learner number. That's a number that was given to them way back when they started school in reception. We will give that to students, but it has to go on their application. Otherwise, the process could take a bit longer for them. There's a fee code. For everyone in our school, it is 02, and that, again, just speeds up a process for them further on. They need to put the name of the local authority, which for most students, for us, will be Essex. For some, it might be Southend. They need to put down the name of a nominated access person. This is if for any reason universities or UCAS are trying to contact the student and they can't, they will only speak to the one person who is nominated on that form. It doesn't make sense for it to be me or their form tutor. It makes sense for them to be somebody at home. The amount of times students put their applications forward with that blank, it's just a waste because it would be really useful. And the disability and special needs, this is important for the students who need it, obviously. This isn't an opportunity for universities to discriminate. This is just for them to be forewarned about things they might need to put in place for students. It's a positive thing, not a negative thing. So personal details, pretty obvious, apart from those key sections there. So students will need to put on all of their GCSE results, anything they've got while they're in year 11, GCSEs, BTECs, anything at all, pending qualifications, the subjects they are currently studying, again, whether it's A-levels, whether it's BTEC, whether it's an EPQ. Some students might have other qualifications, Duke of Edinburgh, dance exams, music exams. It's worth putting everything in. If you've got a grade you don't like, unfortunately, you can't miss it off. It has to go on there. So we are signing that it's a legal document, say these are the grades that a student has received. So results of all subjects received and pending will go on the application. So students can apply to up to 5 universities. If you're applying for dentistry, medicine or veterinary, you can only apply to 4 for that and something else. So 4 med schools and maybe a psychology or a biomedical science or something. You don't have to apply for all 5. If you only want to apply for 2, you can do that. If you want to apply for 2 and then add a couple more later on, there's a possibility for that. You need to realise that the personal statement, which I'll come to in a minute, is seen by each of those 5 universities. So you can't really apply for geography somewhere and biology somewhere different. That you have to get an idea of what you want to do. Ultimately, those 5 choices will get narrowed to a firm and an insurance choice. For the very, very rare, it hasn't happened since FITS has been open, where students get rejected by all universities, there is a second choice. There's something called extra, but I can explain that to students if it's necessary. So the personal statement, unquestionably the biggest bit of the application as far as the students are concerned, and it is that the one chance they've got to sell themselves to the person who is reading their application, the tutor at the university. As I say, it's one and it is seen by all 5. It needs to focus basically on 3 key things. Why you love that subject, what about it makes you want to study it for another 3-4 years of your life. What skills have you got? What academic skills have you got that mean you are going to be a success? They're giving places, they have limited places. They want to know that you're going to be able to do the course. So what have you got that is going to make you a good student, skills you can bring from your A-levels, and then maybe some extracurricular stuff as well, stuff that says something about you. And again, focus on the skills that you've got. It needs to be personal. It needs to be something about you. If there is something that has driven you to really love that subject, then talk about it. You need to provide evidence. You can't just say, I love history, and that's it. You need to provide evidence that you love history or biology or whatever it might be. The universities are very hot on plagiarism. I have experience of a student at my old school, of someone who plagiarized the personal statement and actually contacted us to say, we know this is 69% the same as this student who wrote it a couple of years ago. We will be supporting them still in school on personal statement writing, but there is a lot of stuff on Unifrog that they can look at, and all Year 12 students have a Unifrog login, so it'd be worth them starting their search for personal statement advice there. There isn't just one way of writing a personal statement. I think it's really up to a student to get the information across. There's a lot of different links out there. All universities will have their own support on it. UCAS has got it. University Which has got some stuff. You can see their top universities. I think just researching personal statements and what needs to go on there is definitely something that students could be doing at this point. But ultimately, it needs to come back to why they want to do the subject, why they'll be good, and what they do that makes them the person that they are. So if we were having this meeting in school, I had a few examples of bits of opening personal statements for you to have a look at. But I think this is quite a good one, just to leave on the screen just for a minute. I think for a student wanting to do English literature, obviously this person can write, and it's really giving an idea of the reason that they like it is linking to books they're reading. So if you want to pause this, you can have a look over it, and it gives you a sense of the kind of thing that we're looking for. So the students do the personal statement, we do the reference. And just to explain how this goes, the subject tutors will write a paragraph on each of the students talking about what their specific skills are. There'll be predicted grades. The form tutors then put all of that together. If there are any additional information, things they know about the student, they'll put that together. The sixth form team, so largely myself and Mr. Hallam, we will read through all of those. If there's anything particularly personal that students want to go on there, we can add that in that stage, and then we send the application, we send the reference off. Now, obviously, again, this is going to be a little bit different this year, but we're going to take all advice on how we go about doing the references. But this is what it looks like. The information filters down, and eventually one single reference is written that is sent off by myself or Mr. Hallam. So once the application, has gone out, you wait for the universities to get back, and there's a range of different things. They can give what we call conditional offers, and it might just be on the basis of grades. It might require a specific grade in a specific subject. If you're doing English literature, they might pinpoint they want a particular grade in that. There might be a points offer, and there's some advice there on what the points are. They might give an unconditional offer, and I'll come back to unconditional offers later on. That basically means regardless of what you get in your exams, yes, you've got a place. You might get called for interview. They might say no, and generally they'll give very brief outline of why that is. Universities take a huge amount of varying amounts of time to do this. Some universities will reply really, really quick. Others, King's, Warwick, LSE, they have a bit of a habit of doing this, will take a lot longer, months. So you kind of just have to sit tight and wait. But these are the things you'll get: an offer, unconditional, an interview, or a rejection. And all of this moves towards Results Day, which for Year 12 is Thursday, the 12th of August 2021. If you are thinking of applying to university, do not be on holiday on that date. We will, as a school, know the results the day before, so we will have an idea of whether the students have got in or not. There's something called UCAS Track, which is the portal that all students who've applied to university will use. That will go online at 8. So the students will know whether they've got into university or not at 8 o'clock. That doesn't necessarily mean they've got the grades they wanted, because universities might accept slightly lower grades on the day. There's clearing, there's adjustment. Clearing is for students who haven't got the grades to get in. Universities will take in students who haven't got the grades. They'll open up courses because they want to take students, want to get students in. So clearing is something we will support students with on the day. Adjustment is for students who have significantly overachieved, got higher than their predicted grades, and actually now want to level up, want to go to a better university perhaps than the one that they applied to in the first place. So adjustment is a possibility on the day, but the sixth form team will be around on that day to help people in whatever way we can. Normally at this point I'd be pushing for you to go to as many open days as you can. Obviously things are very different at the moment, but all universities are now getting themselves in gear to offer virtual open days. So please, please, please look at as many of those as you can. Go online, look at UCAS on this site, attend a virtual open day, Google it, have a look at it. It gives you an idea of all the things that you should be doing. I think because you haven't got to travel anywhere, you really should throw the net quite wide. Think about different universities that you might not have thought about going to. Ask as many questions as you can. They've all got different versions of their open days, their virtual open days. Some of them are taster lessons, some of them are sort of video walkthroughs of things. This is the way that it needs to be done. We're not going to be able to provide any sort of huge amounts of support for this in the summer. This is very much a thing that students do on their own. And obviously when lessons get back underway, we're really going to want students to be in lessons. So take advantage of these virtual open days now. UCAS also have something that they've just started called UniBuddy, which is where it's an online secure chat facility with existing students. So that might be something you'd want to do at the moment to answer some questions that you might have. So just because we've got the time, and obviously you can pause this and watch it in more than one session if you want, I just want to go through advice on how you might go about choosing universities and courses over the next few slides. So without wanting to just fall into the trap of reading from a slide, there's different structures of the course. You can have a full-time course where you're there all the time. You could do it part-time, which would take slightly longer. You wouldn't be in as much and you'd be able to work at the same time. Sandwich courses are a really good thing these days, where it's over 4 years. You'd be in university year 1, year 2, and year 3 would either be a year abroad or a year in industry. And then you'd come back to university for your 4th and final year and complete the degree. They're really great if you have the year in industry, because it ups your chances of getting a job. If your year in industry with a particular company goes well, they are likely to offer you a job because they've known you for a year. And also you're getting paid for one of the years whilst you're at university. You could defer entry. You could apply and say, okay, I don't want to go until the year after. That's fine. Again, you might want to put yourself on a stronger financial footing. Most initial degrees are what are called bachelor's degrees, so BA or Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, BSc, but there are now degrees that are integrated masters. Universities want to keep students at their university for a bit longer, so you're automatically enrolled on the master's course and will be there for four years. So there's a variety of different structures of course. Full-time is the most normal one that I would say, but the others might be worth looking at. So without stating the obvious reasons why you want to choose a course, you want to enjoy the subject. The student is going to be there for 3 years. There is no point in doing something because they think it's going to lead to something for them if they hate what they're doing. There is the possibility that university has some distractions, shall we say, but the core of your being there needs to be because you want to learn about the subject. There's a student I bumped into a few weeks ago in the supermarket, and she was saying she hates her course. She did it because she thought it led to a career she wanted to do, hadn't looked into it very much, and actually it's quite boring for her. So not enough work was done by her. There are loads of courses out there. There will be something for you. You also need to think about the ability. Most employers that require degrees will require a certain standard of degree. So we go first is the best, then a 2-1, 2-2, third, and a fail. Make sure you're doing a course that you're going to be able to do well at in the future. There is no point in paying and spending 3 years of your life doing a degree that ultimately you're not going to be able to achieve well in. So have a think about actually what you are good at as well as what you enjoy. So without sending mixed messages, it would be worth looking if there's a job you've got your heart set on, is there a particular degree that you need to do for that? And then are there A-level grades that you're going to need to get to enable you to get that degree? That's something you could look at. In the majority of cases, university degrees, jobs that require degrees can be from any subject. They're non-vocational in that sense. An English degree, a geography degree will be fine. So think about whether you need it. If you don't, focus on something you really like. And obviously there are some degrees that don't require a degree at all. So that might be worth you looking at. The final one might not be particularly popular. I realise that parents are going to subsidise the cost of university, but ultimately it is the student's life. They're the ones who are going to be there. They're going to be the ones who are going to the lectures. The debt really is going to be on them. The larger part of the debt is going to be with them. So they've got to make the choice. If you've always wanted your son to be a lawyer, doesn't necessarily mean that is the right thing for him. So those conversations can sometimes be quite awkward, but remember that they're getting older now. This is their life we're talking about. So the involvement you might have had in options in year 9, maybe this might need to be a slightly different way of thinking about it. Sorry if I annoyed anyone with that, but it's true. So when it comes to choosing courses, at this point, there's 2 different ways. Go on the UCAS site, you'll see there's a search for courses, start looking at the different ones that are available. Unifrog, everyone in year 12 has a login, and there's search tools on there. You can put in the name of the subject and see what else comes up that is similar to that. But this needs to be driven by the student. What kind of thing are they going to be interested in doing for the next few years? And the reason why searching is going to help is because they're not just linear. That you might want to do a psychology degree, but as I put here, there's a range of things, and there's a load of psychology and education, psychology and economics, and different entry requirements for lots of these different subjects. So it really is worth spending time looking at different subjects, and there'll be subjects that haven't been offered at school. Anthropology is something that sociology students might be interested in, but they're not going to know about it unless they research it. So more than ever, there's time at the moment. This will be time well spent looking at Unifrog and UCAS for different courses. So that was a few pointers on choosing a course, choosing a university. Now there's a range of different factors that need to be brought in when you're thinking about this. Now, one thing that could narrow it down at a stroke is whether you want a city or a campus university. Many of you will know about this already, but a city university is one that is based, as it sounds, in a city. So Bristol, Sheffield, places like this. And this is where you can see on the map, you would be living in the city, and you might need to get a bus, you might need to get the tube, sometimes a few miles across town to get to a lecture and then come back, and accommodation is going to be somewhere different. It's going to be spread out amongst the city. So it very much feels like you're plugged into the city rather than living in a university bubble. And there are some people who really like it that way. So that's a city university, spread out, living within a city. The second choice is a campus university, which was my favourite choice. So Kent, where I went, or University of Essex, where the students have been. This is where it is all within a bubble. So everything is very, very close. There'll still be a lot of walking. There might be a bit of cycling that's done, but it's not the same needing to get across town. The lecture theatre will be next door to the accommodation, which will be near to the bar, which will be near to the, I can't think of anything after I said bar, sports centre. That's what I was thinking about. So even within that, people will live off-site, normally in their 2nd or 3rd years, but they will be the actual facilities of the university are all together, so there's much more of a bubble feel to that. So city or campus is something worth thinking about just to differentiate early on. So if we were doing this with students, we'd play a little game at the moment, and I'd put a list of university towns on the board and get them to think about how far away they are. And pretty much my experience over the last 15 years has made me realise students haven't got a clue where anywhere in the UK is. There are places that sound a lot longer away. People might think Southampton's close, but it's still a bit further than Nottingham, which sounds further away in some people's eyes. So I would suggest looking at a map, getting them to think about that. There's a story that I tell every year about a student who applied to the University of Swansea at my old school without looking where Swansea was, and when they were on the journey down the M4, she said to her parents, "This is too far away, I don't want to go here." And she left after a week and reapplied the next year. It was crazy. So distance is sometimes a reason, wanting to be away. Often students are like, I want to get as far away from Rayleigh as possible, which is fine, but just make sure those reasons are valid, because when you're schlepping up and down the country needing to bring your stuff to and from each year, you might have wished you'd given it a bit more thought. So I don't want to spend too long on this one, but accommodation fees, I'm a realist, they're going to come into it. They vary widely depending on university and parts of the country. So it'll be something worth looking at. If finances are going to be a considering factor for some people, and obviously I completely understand that, you might want to not think about going to particular towns or parts of the country where it's more expensive. There's information you can find online for that. Another factor will be the prestige of the university and how good the university is seen. So the league tables are where you want to look at for that. There are a range of different ones: Complete University Guide, Guardian, Times. There's a range. So have a look at that. If that's the kind of thing that matters to you, that's where you'll find that information. That said, you could look into it a little bit deeper, because within university departments there are differences. I mean, it's not a surprise that Oxford and Cambridge are two best universities in the country in terms of prestige and results and all that kind of stuff, but they're not for marine biology because they don't offer marine biology. So you might want to look at courses in more detail. The university league tables will give league tables for particular subjects. So I've just got here as an example, ophthalmology or optometry. The top 10 is quite odd. They're not universities you wouldn't automatically think that Ulster's one of the top 5 universities, but for that particular subject, it is. So there's a few things to bear in mind, whether it's the overall prestige of the university or what that particular department has achieved or students from that department have gone on to do. So that's something you might want to look at as well. And another term that some people sometimes get fixated with is Russell Group. So just if you're not aware of this, Russell Group is the name of a group of the 24 of the leading universities in the country. They put themselves together. They weren't selected by anyone else. They came together and called themselves the Russell Group, and lots of students say, I want to go to a Russell Group university. They are all top universities and the names are listed there. It's worth saying though that there are great universities that aren't members of the Russell Group. So I've got there Bath, Leicester, Surrey, Loughborough, St Andrews, top universities, but not members of the Russell Group. So you shouldn't think applying to Russell Group is automatically better than everyone else. And there's a link there on the University Which site that you could perhaps type in and have a look at in a bit more detail. This is a factor, entry requirements, that sort of affects me every year and students. So it's absolutely key. You're going to apply to 5 universities. Ultimately, you're going to put down 1 firm choice and 1 insurance choice. So you need to have a bit of a spread of grades. There's no point applying to 5 universities all that want 3 A's, because that's not taking into account an insurance policy should you have a bad day in some of the exams. The other things, and this is very, very difficult, but you'll know what I mean. There's no need to apply to a university with 3 A's if the best that you're going to get is BBC. So this is where students need to be a little bit honest with themselves, take on board what teachers have said. Obviously, we're in a difficult position at the moment, not having seen the students for such a long period of time, but they will have an honest idea of how well have I been doing in that first 6 months. Did 3 A's look like I was, that's what I was going to get? So the entry requirements are something you need to look at. I definitely want students to be aspirational. I want them to be pushing to go to the best possible place they can, but perhaps not all 5. There needs to be a bit of a spread amongst those choices. Another sometimes hidden thing to consider with regards to entry requirements is not just the A-level grades, but there will be GCSE grades, prior attainment grades there as well. So a lot of universities now, in the absence of ASs, are looking at GCSEs and being specific about GCSEs. So just above my little head there, you can see I've cut and pasted this from the Bath website. This is for their management degree. They are actually saying we prefer students with grade 7s or above. Now, there's a bit of flexibility there. It might be worth having a punt if you've got two 7s and the rest weren't. But I think grade mathematics grade 6 and English grade 6 above, that's a definite. They will reject people who haven't got a grade 6. And sometimes that's a very hard thing for a student in year 12, 13 to come to terms with. The fact they can't apply to the university they've now decided is the one they want to go to because of something they did a couple of years ago with their GCSEs. Unfortunately, that's the way that it is. So check the entry requirements, and if you can't go, then you can't go. It's like I've had to come to terms with the fact I'm not going to play up front for West Ham anytime soon. So you don't really want to get rejected from one of your 5 choices just because you didn't read the entry requirements fully. So once the applications have gone in, students will start to hear straight away in some cases. A record, we had someone who had all 5 offers back within the first 3 or 4 days of sending it off, which was fantastic for them. But officially, they don't need to reply until the 5th of May. Some universities, as I mentioned before, are notoriously slow at replying, but that's because they're taking in all of the applications before they start sifting through. And sometimes not having heard from a particular university is good news, because what they do is they tend to slice at either end. These are the definite yeses, so we'll say yes, these are the definite no's, and the longer you're in the mix, the more it proves they're considering your application. So that is a difficult time for students, but sometimes no news or slow news can actually be good news. So the offers will come in, and the first kind will be conditional offers, so conditional on you meeting particular grade requirements, whether it's set grades they want or points or a mix of BTEC and A-level. So conditional offers are where they want you to hit. You have a conditional place with us as long as you meet these grade requirements in the summer. Or you might get an unconditional offer. Now, just stop for a second on this, because there's been quite a bit in the news about this, that universities are pushing for them a lot. There are far, far more of them being given out to students. And what it means is it's a university saying you can definitely come regardless of the results you get. Now, in some cases, it's what they call a conditional unconditional. So if you make us your firm choice, you are definitely in. Sometimes it's just an unconditional. If you put us down, you can definitely come in. Now, there's positives and negatives for that. For a certain type of student, it's a really positive thing. And we had an example of a student a couple of years ago who flew. She wanted to go to Royal Holloway, got quite stressy at exam time. They gave her an unconditional offer on the basis of her application was great. And she was able to relax. She wasn't worried. She didn't have the whole exam time thinking, oh, what happens if I fail? I can't go where I want to go. And she ended up getting absolutely brilliant A-level grades as a result. So it helped her. Equally, we've had other students who've got unconditional offers, and at the point they take the unconditional offer, that's it. They're not working anymore. Why would they bother? There is nothing in it for them. They're going to university, whatever they lose focus. And you've got to think of the consequences of that. You are still going to have those A-level grades on your CV for the rest of your life. They missed out on scholarships. They actually lost that work ethic and found it difficult when they went to university in the autumn to actually pick it up. They hadn't done anything properly for 3 or 4 months. We're in a very difficult position as a school, because I'm thinking this student is not going to get the grades we said they were going to get. And that's the basis that the unconditional was made. But I don't want to grass up a student and say, do you know what, now they're not working anymore, you should take the offer away. So have a real think about your son or daughter. If they get an unconditional offer, how are they going to work? Is it the right thing for them? Just think carefully. They're really good, but they can also be bad for some students as well. So what we're talking about now is a year away. This isn't going to happen until sort of April, May next year. From the responses you get, fingers crossed you've got 5 responses back, you need to make a firm choice and an insurance choice. And the firm choice is the one that if you get the grades, this is where you are definitely going. The insurance choice, therefore, should be slightly lower for the grades. If you don't hit that, you're going to go to your insurance choice. The sooner you can make that decision, the better it will be, because the university that you've put down as firm will then start contacting you, and you'll be put in contact with social media with other students, and you can start organising your accommodation. On occasions, students who do this quite late might not have the pick of the accommodation, but that's what it's going to be. Eventually, from your 5, you will narrow it down to 2, a firm and an insurance. This will apply to a very small number of students, but if you don't get anywhere, if all 5 of them say no, and that hasn't happened at Fitzwymark since we've been open as a sixth form, or if you, more likely, if you change your mind, you think, I applied for that, now I don't want to do that anymore, you can withdraw all of your offers and reapply through something called UCAS Extra, which is now where you, after February, you apply to universities individually. So you send off an application just to one university. So it's where someone's had a complete change of heart. So an example was a student who wanted to apply for nursing, applied for 4 places for nursing, changed their mind, withdrew, went back in for business, and he's now successfully studying business at university. So there are some bits of UCAS that are inflexible, deadlines, etc., but this is an element of flexibility that they've brought in recent years, which is a good thing. Right, well done for those of you that have made it to the end of this. Hopefully it's been useful. I'll just say, obviously, things are very difficult at the moment. We're not able to have that contact with students, but nor is any other school. We're not getting information from the universities, but nor are any other schools. The universities don't really know what they're going to be doing for next year, but that is the same for all of them. Our paramount focus is still on the best things for the students. So trying to get students who join Fit to Mark Sixth Form into the right university or into the right job is our whole reason for being. So we will be doing everything we can, whether it's in terms of being supportive with our UCAS predictions, with the reference writing, all of that stuff. We will be helping the students, and hopefully we can be back in school soon to begin that process. But this has given you an overview of what you need to know as a parent. If you have any questions, please just contact me. Thanks ever so much and keep safe.